Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Introduce myself. My name is Andin Melati. The study identification number is 122111321. In this video, I will explore the issue of corruption because corruption has become a deep-rooted issue that affects every corner of society. Next, introduction. The issue of corruption is an old one that has re-entered the current political and economic debate from the new interest in the role of the state in the developing world, and from assumption that the state is an indispensable instrument for economic development, redistribution, and welfare. In contrast to the largely rejected state-dominant and stateless development models, there is no mass consensus on the need for an efficient medium-sized state apparatus with a political will and adequate economic policy to ensure economic development. Corruption is seen as counterproductive to the need economic and political reforms, accountability, transparency, and good governance. Indonesia is one of the world's most corrupt country, according to studies conducted both by the Berlin Peace Organization, Transparency International, and by the Hong Kong-based organization, Political and Economic Review Risk Consultancy. Corruption Perception Index in 2023 is the pervasive level of public sector corruption in 180 countries and territories around the world. Indonesia ranks 34 and is the highest order on the scale of corruption in the world. Next, what is corruption? There are several answers to this question. Analytically speaking, the most promising answer is one made by Vito Tensi. Corruption is the intentional non-compliance with the arm's-length principle aimed at deriving some advantage for oneself or for related individual from this behavior. There are basic elements from corruption is the arm's length principle as it requires that personal or other relationship should play no part in the economic decision that involve more than one party. Equal treatment of all economic agents is essential for a well-working market economy. Bias toward particular economic agent definitely violates the arm's length principle and fulfills a necessary condition for corruption. If there is no bias, there is no corruption. From the enforcement point of view, corruption is a contract. It is an informal contract because it is illegal. No court in the world will uphold it if there is a problem with its enforcement. One, on the contrary, a properly operating court will process corruption as a criminal offense. This very specific feature of corruption as an illegal contract generates is substantial transaction costs, the most important of which are is finding the counterpart, formulating the contract, or particularly taking into account all foreseeable and unforeseeable contingencies. Monitoring the contract and enforcing the contract. This is not to say that standard legal contracts are free of transaction costs. This is to say that due to the illegal nature of the corruption contracts, its transaction costs are multiplied. The transaction cost feature of corruption is of great relevance and must be taken into account when the consequences of corruption are analyzed. The next in consequence of corruption. The first reason is the ascensi hook transaction cost from corruption. As it has been pointed out, corruption is an illegal contract, and therefore its transaction costs are massive, and transaction costs are real costs. The opportunity costs are researched and judged in transaction activity. According to some estimates from Tanzi, senior manager in country with the spare corruption spend about 20% of their working time negotiation corruption and enforcing corruption contracts. This is the amount of transaction cost in the terms of the opportunity cost of highly scale labor. There is rather with spare nation that corruption income of corruption civil servant provides compensation for their lower wage. Hence, there is no need for wage increase and no need for increasing the tax burden. In other words, the corruption burden is on kind of a tax burden that, according to this approach, enable the proper tax burden to be decreased. However, proper taxation, or together with efficient tax administration, is decreased on constantly and transaction costs. Hence, corruption taxation is inferior in terms of economic efficiency. Furthermore, it was demonstrated that ransacking activity are closely related to corruption. The origin of ransacking is public policy that boosts government intervention and disable free market operation. These public policies can be deliberately or specifically because they create rent. These policies can be influenced or irrespective of whether it's done by legitimate lobbying or illegitimate state capture corruption by interest group with vested interest in creating and appreciating rents. Although these public policies are the favor of this interest group, they are completely wrong regarding maximization of economic efficiency and social welfare. They are not favor of the public interest. Corruption violates the rule of law, and the rule of law is prerequisite for the market economy. If there is no rule of law, there is no protection of private property market economy. If there, I mean, there is no protection of private property right, no contract enforcement. There is poor exchange between agents because there are no incentive for agents with the poor protection of property right and inadequate support of contract enforcement. Because of the poor exchange between firms, all firms produce the majority of input internally, instead of purchasing this input on the market. In the other word, there is no social deviation of labor and no prerequisite for specialization. Since there is no specialization, a significant source of increasing economic efficiency is absent. This is the indirect way in which corruption diminishes economic efficiency and consequently social welfare. Next is source and form of corruption. First is monopoly, two low income and property, three is form of government, and four is public ignorance. Okay, first is monopoly. In Indonesia, bribes are the most common form of corruption in relation of the abuse of the monopoly function of public sector. In economic jargon, Gray described brevet as the market price which should be paid by consumers to buy certain goods in the form of license or permits. For example, to obtain of identification card or which is obligatory for adult in Indonesia. Driving license, marriage, death or birth certificate, or document from the immigration department quickly, an application may have to pay up 20 times the official cost. It is widely known inside Indonesia. For example, the request for an official license for a new commercial publication are purportedly grant only if 20% of the company's stock is reserved for a senior official in the Department of Information. This includes an additional invisible monthly fee of 5 to 10 million rupiah or USD is 3,000 until 6,000. I mean is 300 and until 600. At present, this senior official or his immediate family owns shares in at least 31 Indonesia print publication, in two private television stations, and in the two private radio companies. Next is low income and poverty. Poverty, or being paid at rate inadequate to meet daily basic need, is another factor luring public servants into corruption. In the case of Indonesia, agree that widespread corruption in Indonesia is closely related to, among other factors, a means of supplementing excessively low government salaries and not to amass vast private fortunes. However, it may be argued that low income as just as justification for corruption may only hold true for the street level bureaucrats, although there are many Indonesian public servants at this level who perform their duties honestly. The need to supplement a low income cannot remain a justifiable excuse for the senior official in the Department of Information. For example, with salary together with other incentives and privilege must be more than adequate. Next is public ignorance. Public perception is another crucial factor determining a national level of corruption. The more apathetic the society is toward the corrupt practices, or as is the case in many developing countries, the more widespread the government graft and bribery will be. The history of corruption in Indonesia, according to Anderson, began in the time of World War II, when the arbitrary reduction of salaries through inflation meant that in less than years the Indonesian rupiah sank to 1/60 of its previous value. Since then, corruption has remained a stubborn feature of the republic. Next is forms and government. Forms of government. It is widely believed that the democracy delegates certain power to society which may function as a check on abuse of power by the state. The presence of strong political party and pressure group and freedom of press may after safeguard against arbitrary or corrupt decision making. Unfortunately, although Indonesia has had democratic institutions such as parliament, political party, and regular elections since independence, in effect the government is still far from democratic. Okay, maybe this is the only material that I convey. Sorry if there is wrong word, and thank you so much. Uh, and remember, let's fight corruption together. Report any acts of corruption that you know about and support the government effort in combating corruption. Don't let corruption ruin our nation's future. Let's make Indonesia a clean and fair country. Thank you. Bye bye.